My friend, Brent Zockel, is a potter. He can take a lump of clay and shape it into anything. Anything that his mind can conceptualize, he can turn that lump of clay into. He has a gift. He specializes in pottery mugs, and we've seen his mugs. You may have one of his mugs because we've made Community of Joy and Camden Community Garden mugs available. Just recently, he and I were chatting, and he's made almost 9,000 mugs since he left his job and began making mugs full time a couple of years ago. It was just this summer that he crossed the 7,000 threshold. And so now from the summer till now, he's almost 2,000 mugs more. It's absolutely incredible. I'm constantly amazed at how effortlessly he can shape a lump of clay into a mug or into a bowl or into something that he sees in his mind. 1 minute, it's an unformed shape of lump of clay. Doesn't look like anything. Looks like something you would pick up and throw. And in a matter of seconds, and it is seconds because I've watched him do it, this wheel starts to turn, and through a process of applying pressure to that clay with his thumbs, with his palm of his hands, with the cup of his hand, he can turn that lump of clay into the end product that he has visualized in his mind. It's not a whole lot different than the shaping of our lives. We're like the clay. Our experiences in life are like the wheel that spin, and sometimes we feel like our lives are spinning fast and out of control. And the how we look at life is the pressure that is applied and gives shape to our lives and forms us. As we move into this season of Advent, or a season of Thanksgiving, I don't want to get to Advent yet, because I think we missed Thanksgiving. I want us to recognize first, it's more than a day. It's more than a gathering of family. It's actually should be every day of our lives. And it's not just Thanksgiving, it's thanks living. And I wanted to call our attention to these words that Paul penned to the church at Philippi that Pastor Sharon read for you this morning. And I think that the wisdom that he shares is helpful for us in navigating some of the challenges that we face in our lives. I really, really, really like the imagery that he uses in here, and it's why I chose to use Eugene Peterson's paraphrase version of this. He talks about letting our praise and petitions shape our worry. I like that concept. That's why I started talking about the potter shaping clay, because we all have worry in our lives, and what we do with it shapes us and affects the way we live and the way we see our lives. And so I really like that, and that's why I want us to look at this morning. Paul begins in chapter 4, verses 1 through 9. He begins by telling the Philippian church to stay on track, to steady themselves in God. Wise words. Stay on track. Steady in God. Really, much of life is about focus. What you focus on. What's shaping your life? What's shaping the way you handle the things that life throws at you? The struggles, the challenges, the stressors. What's shaping the way you live in response to those struggles and challenges and stressors? And why not let God shape your life? I mean, you got two choices, really. You can let the worries and struggles and stresses of life shape you, or you can let God shape you. Why not let God do that? Now, it's easy to do when life's going well, right? I mean, it's a struggle when the struggles hit. It's difficult when the struggles hit. It's more challenging to let God shape our life when life gets tough. And that's why I think Paul's beginning place, stay on track, steady in God, is important. Because when life throws something at you fast, and the hole gets deep and the storm gets dark and fierce, where are you looking? Are you looking down? Are you looking beside you, or are you looking up? It's a matter of focus. So stay on track, steady in God. Allow God to be the focus of our lives. If a potter is going to make a mug, they have to keep that image ever present in their mind as they apply pressure to the clay and as the wheel spins. Because if they don't think about that mug, they'll end up making a bowl. And if by chance they apply too much pressure and it gets too thin, or I don't know if you know anything about throwing clay on a wheel, but if it's not centered right, it gets wobbly and it gets out of shape and it breaks. And so they have to start over. But they have to keep that image of what the end product is going to be in mind. And as we go through life, we have to stay focused on God. As the pressure of life presses in, how we handle it depends on where God is in our lives. Is he at the center? Or is he a last resort? So Paul continues. He says, celebrate God all day, every day. Revel in him. Celebrate God all day, every day. Now, it's easy on the good days, but not so easy on the tough days, right? To celebrate God. But how about when it gets tough? What do we do then? When the diagnosis is alarming, when the prognosis is not good, when the pressure is overwhelming, when the hole is deep and dark, when the weight is oppressive, how do you celebrate God then? I think it's a matter of our eyes. If we focus on the depth of the hole or the darkness of the storm or the weight that's oppressive, we'll lose sight of God. How you respond in the midst of challenging moments of life makes all the difference in the world. Keeping God in sight will help. Trusting that God sees the big picture and that he is present no matter what we are going through, it helps tremendously. And we all have a role to play in each other's lives in helping them or helping us keep God in sight. You know, I need you and you need me when life gets tough and the going is rough. When we are going through something, if we lose sight of God, we need the help of someone else who's not going through something or not struggling in a certain way to come alongside of us and say, but wait a minute, Martin, there's God right there. I see it. Don't you? We need that in each other. So Paul says, make it as clear as you can to all you meet that you are on their side, working with them, not against them. He's saying we need each other. He's also saying that we need to suspend judgment. We need to be a positive force in each other's lives. And then he goes on and he says, help them see that the master is about to arrive. When I'm in the midst of a struggle, I can't always see God. But you can come alongside of me and help me. Or when you're in the midst of a struggle, maybe you can't see God, but I can come alongside of you and help you. We need each other. Usually on Friday nights, Sharon and I go out to eat together. It's a practice we've been doing for a long time, more frequently since our girls have been out of the house, and it's cheaper to eat out when it's 2 instead of 4. But we do this, and we've been doing this for a good while now. And it's at the end of the week, and Sharon's job is incredibly stressful, dealing with people who are dying and struggling with that reality. And so we just like to go out and unwind and enjoy a nice meal. And so Friday night we were on our way. It was a little after 7. We had decided we were going to go to the new downtown Salisbury restaurant, Mogan's Oyster House. And so I thought, well, downtown's kind of tore up right in the heart of downtown, real close to where that is. And so I thought, well, let's go up Main Street, and we'll find parking on the side of the street that they've recently redone. And we did, and we walked across we walked across the street, walking up the sidewalk, marveling at the beauty of these new street lights and the beauty of the concrete work and the width of the sidewalk and the brickwork and all of that. And all of a sudden, this guy comes to us, walking, and meets us, and he says, "Excuse me, can you help me?" He says, I'm really sick and tired of the way I'm being treated. People are really mean to me. They're not helping me. They're looking at me with judgment. And he just was going on and on and on about all of the ways that he's been treated just that evening, by people right around there, going in and out of the restaurant or whatever. And as soon as he said that he'd been treated poorly by other people and he was sick of it, I thought, okay, I'm going to treat you really well. I didn't say that to him, but I just decided that here's an opportunity to show this guy that God exists, that God's present. And so he said, "I need shoestrings and socks." And I looked down when he said that, because I thought, well, what do you need shoestrings for? He had shoes on. Well, he didn't have shoestrings in his shoes. And the tongue of the shoe was sticking up, and it looked like if he took a step, his foot was going to come out. And I looked at his feet, and you could see that they were pretty pinkish red color from being cold. And so I said, "By the way, I'm Martin, and this is Sharon." And he introduced himself and said, "Hey, I'm Tyler." And then I said, "Come with us, and we'll go to the dollar store that's right around the corner and get you some shoes or some socks and shoestrings." And as we're going, I'm opening the door to the car, and he says, "You mean you're going to let me in your car? You're not afraid of me?" I said, "Dude, I'm Pastor Martin, and if you do something to me, you're going to answer to the big guy." I did. That's exactly what I told him. I just thought, why would I be afraid of you? But I thought, I'm just going to lay this out here. And I almost, walking over there, I was thinking maybe I should ask Sharon to sit in the back and put him in the front, because then that way he wouldn't be able to get me from behind. But I really wasn't afraid of him. There was nothing. But then on the way to the dollar store, he was telling us how, because I was asking him, he's homeless. I was asking him about his story. He came here from Delaware, he says, when his mother was dying, and she's died about a month ago, and he's been homeless since she died. He's got a mental illness, and he's been in the shelters. And I'm sure this is true because it's how it rolls. If you do something, he said, "I was in the shelters when I was unmedicated, and so I was a handful. And they kicked me out and banned me from ever being there again. I can't even go on the property." He said, "But I'm medicated now." And you could tell, I could tell that he was, I didn't have any fears at all whatsoever, even before he started telling me this. And I didn't have any after he started telling me this, because he was conducting himself like a normal person, just that he had a need. Now, what happened to his shoestrings, I don't know. His shoes were in fairly good shape, almost newish. And, I didn't ask. I just decided it's not comfortable to walk around with shoes that don't have shoe laces. I don't care. I mean, maybe you like that, but I don't. Not if they're tennis shoes and they're designed to lace up. I want them to lace up and be tight on my feet. So we're walking in the dollar store, he and I, and he says to me, he says, "Hey man," he says, I really stink. And I said, "Well, I don't smell you." And he said, "Well, that's good." And he said, "How about, would you buy me some underwear and t-shirts?" So I said, "Sure." So I bought him underwear, t-shirts, shoestrings, and 12 pairs of socks. Because I thought, it's raining. It was raining Friday and it was supposed to rain Saturday. And I thought, I don't like walking around in wet feet, and I know that that's not a good feeling. So I thought, well, if he has a way to keep these dry, I'll buy him some, and at least he has the bag that they would come in. And his story was that he was accepted into the Go-Getters program. He had a meeting on Monday at 11 o'clock with his case manager to get into a house, and then his homeless situation would be over, but he was just looking for something to help him. And as I would probably do, like he did, when you find somebody who is willing to help, you keep asking until they say no. And that's kind of what he did. So when we went in the store, he was asking me for shoestrings, socks, underwear, and shirts. And so I got those. And then when we were leaving the store, he said, I'm really hungry. Could you get me something to eat? And so I thought, well, there's a Royal Farms back up the way. We'll go over there. And he said, I said, would that be okay? He said, yeah, you can get me some potato wedges from there. And I'm like, dude, you're hungry. I'm not just going to get you potato wedges. I want to get you a chicken meal or whatever. They got really good chicken. He said, yeah, but I don't like chicken. I said, okay. Said right down the way from where we are is Checkers. They don't have chicken. They have burgers. How about a Checkers burger? So he said, that sounds good. So we went to Checkers and we got out. I don't like going through the drive-through there, especially when wasn't sure if he was familiar with Checkers. I'm not familiar with Checkers. And so I thought, well, I don't want to sit there a long time. We'll just go up to the window and place the order. And so he said he wanted, at some point in that journey, he told me he had a friend who had a car, and this friend was with him when he was downtown. And so he said, he's hungry too. He's homeless. He's sleeping in the car. So I said, okay, I'll get you 2 meals. So I said, you order whatever you want. And he ordered 2 triple cheeseburgers, meals, the whole meals. And we got back in the car, and as we're going, he's asking me about putting him up in a hotel. And I'm like, look, I've done what you asked me, and I've gone above and beyond what you asked me. I could put you up in a hotel, but it's a hassle because they don't take credit cards now, and I didn't have cash, and I didn't want to go get cash. And he said, well, can you give me some cash and I'll panhandle? I said, no, I don't give cash. And so I took him. I said, where you want to go? He said, I want to go to the library parking lot. We went to the library parking lot. Got in there, and he said, my friend's car is not here. So I said, what do you want now? He said, well, there's a place down the street where they have a parking lot, and they let us park sometimes. Maybe he's there. So I said, okay, I'll take you there. But when we get there, if he's not there, I'm either going to leave you there or I can bring you back to this lot. But then that's going to be the end of what I can do for you. And he said, that's fine. So we got to the place where the parking lot was, and sure enough, the friend's car wasn't there. And I said, so what do you want to do? He said, well, I'll just get out here. He said, that's no problem. And so he took his food and took his bag of clothes and got out and walked into the darkness, into the Church Street neighborhood. And I tell you that story because what Paul's talking about here is helping people see that the master is about to arrive. And see, our task on Friday night and our task with each other is to help each other see God. And I was hoping that 2 meals, 2 triple cheeseburgers, socks, shoestrings, underwear, t-shirts, and a ride to find his friend, about an hour of our time, would help Tyler to see that God's there. That not everybody's going to be mean or disrespectful to him. Not everybody's going to think he's a bum and not worthy of some kind of help. And so as he left our car, I told him just up the street at 11 o'clock on Saturday is God's Kitchen, and you can get a hot meal there. And he thanked me, and off he went. You see, when we help others, we become more aware of God's presence and blessing in our own lives as well. As I was helping Tyler, and I'm not saying this to toot my horn, I'm just telling you it's what happens in our lives when we help. As I was helping Tyler, I was incredibly grateful. One, that I could. Two, that I didn't treat him like the other people that he said he had met earlier in the night. And three, that though I didn't choose to meet all of his needs, I was able to meet a number of his needs. And I was grateful for that ability. Paul continues, don't fret or worry, pray. Let petition and praises shape your worries into prayers. There's that phrase. Let petition and praises shape your worries into prayers, letting God know your concern before you know it. A sense of God's wholeness, everything coming together for good, will come and settle you down. He goes on, he says, it's wonderful what happens when Christ displaces worry at the center of your life. I just love the way Eugene Peterson has rendered these verses. Let petitions and praises shape your worries. It's been said that worry is misplaced trust. No better way to handle worry than to shape our worries into the form of prayer. Petitions and praises. I think it's important that we get both of those. You know, it's when we worry about something, if we're praying about it, it's always a petition. God, please do this. Please do that. Please take this away. But it's also important when we're struggling with worry and we're thinking about shaping our worries into prayer to find an ability to praise God. And that's where the friend comes in. Sometimes I can't find something to praise God for in the midst of my struggle. But if you come into my life, you can say, Martin, remember this time when God met you and did this, or remember that, or remember this. When we can find reasons to praise God in the midst of our worry, we then begin to see God as powerful, to see that God cares deeply about us. Even when he doesn't remove the struggle, we see that he walks with us through the struggle. So when we let petition and praise shape our worry, Paul says Christ displaces worry at the center of our lives and grants us peace. Keep steady in God. Stay on track with God. Lean in and trust Jesus to begin to shape our lives. Don't allow that worry to shape your life. And I don't know about you, but I would rather have a God-shaped life than a worry-shaped life. Paul knew the challenges to keeping Christ at the center of our lives, so he offered wise counsel to conclude this section of his letter. He offers this wisdom. He says, you'll do best by filling your minds and meditating on things that are true, noble, reputable, authentic, compelling, gracious. And then he goes on and he says, the best, not the worst, the beautiful, not the ugly, things to praise, not things to curse. We must work. It takes work to keep Christ at the center of our lives. We must work. It takes work to allow God to shape our lives. When we allow what we allow into our minds and into our lives shapes us. Good, bad, it shapes us. Way back in the day when I was in college and we were writing computer programming, the first thing you learned was garbage in, garbage out. What you put in is what comes out. You put bad things, and it's the same, it's true in our lives as well. You put bad things into your life, bad things are going to come out. That's why I believe in mentoring and the value of mentoring, because you can change the perspective and change what goes into a young child's life by being a positive force in their life. On Wednesday at our Bible study, one of the new guys that came now for the second time was telling us in the prayer time, as he was sharing his prayer need, he was saying, I woke up early this morning, stirring, unable to sleep because this stuff was worrying me. And he said, what I did, instead of allowing that to continue to inhabit my mind and my thought process, is I got up and I started praying and praising God for all that he has done in my life, and it changed my perspective. And I thought, there's an example of garbage in, garbage out, good in, good out. You see, what you fill your thoughts with, what you fill your life with, impacts greatly how you handle the tough times. So allowing Christ to be at the center, shaping our worries and our lives, makes our lives a beautiful song. And that's where Paul ends. Paul concludes this saying, put into practice what you learned from me, what you heard and saw and realized. Do that, and God, who makes everything work together, will work you into his most excellent harmonies. Do you know what a harmony is? When you hear a harmony, you love it. When you hear a couple of singers harmonizing, your ears perk and your soul is lifted and something happens. A harmony is a pleasing sound that is the blending of musical notes into a chord that has a pleasing effect. So when we allow God to shape our lives, when we allow God and prayer to shape our worries, we become a beautiful song with pleasing harmonies. Just like a potter who uses pressure and focused vision to shape a lump of clay, may you allow Jesus to shape your life, and through your life, the lives of others, into a beautiful harmony that will cause yourself and others to well up with joy.